Come on in, everybody, and welcome to our second edition of Ask the Aunties and Uncles, a dating question, a marriage question. You know what? I'm gonna start calling We Got Mail. Since I'm like an old auntie, I'm gonna be like, okay, remember back in the day, AOL was like We Got Mail. So I'm gonna call it for now until I change my mind. I'm gonna call it We Got Mail, y'all. We got mail. We had some additional questions submitted to us since the last time. If you're new here to my channel and you didn't catch the last edition, basically what we're doing is throughout the week for my videos that I do for both Married at First Sight and for Ready to Love, I put a link in the description box where you can submit a dating question or marriage question to all of us aunties and uncles. And then on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Time, I'm going to answer as many of those questions as I can. And then we're going to discuss them here. And if you catch it on the premiere, when it's actually airing for the first time, aunties and uncles can participate in the chat. They can answer the questions alongside of when I'm talking. And if you just happen to miss it, you didn't catch it when it was premiering, then you can always answer the questions down in the comment sections. Hey, I got a lot of questions this last time in the comments of my videos, but it's difficult for me to go back when it comes time for like Monday to go back through all my videos and read all the comments again to find your questions. So please, if you can, use the links. I have some links down here in the description box right now. Click on any of the links. It doesn't have to be any particular one, but click on any of the links and submit your question that way, because then when I get ready to look at the questions, they're all in one place and I can kind of go through them a whole lot easier. It's anonymous. When you click on the link and submit your question, it's not asking you for an email address. It's not asking you for a telephone number. It's not asking you for your YouTube name, none of that. And then, of course, when it airs, you can always claim that that was your question, no problem. But when you submit it to me and I answer it, I do not, well, first of all, I don't know who did it because your name doesn't come through on the Gmail form. But you can definitely always claim that that was your question down in the comment section of the video or when we're airing it live on the premiere. But anyway, before I get started, let me do my welcomes. Welcome back to everybody who watches my videos. Thank you for my regular subscribers. Thank you for people who come and listen to me all the time. Even if you haven't subscribed, you still come and listen to me. I encourage you, please do subscribe because it helps me out. It helps YouTube know that I'm for real. But I know what you guys mean when you get tired of them alerts coming through on your phone. So you can always subscribe, but turn off the alerts. So that way you ain't bothered when I'm uploading videos you don't want to see. But you also then do help me out as well. So I would appreciate that. And then also to my VIP members, thank you so much for supporting my channel financially. And if anyone wants to be a VIP member, there is a join button right down below next to the subscribe button. And you can join. And then when you're chiming in the chat for these premiere videos, you'll get a special emoji. And also, I like for my members to be my moderators to help me out so nobody don't get up in the chat acting a fool. So I appreciate the people who join and then also becoming the moderators so that our the channel stays clean and we don't get any spam and all that other kind of stuff. But thank you all for coming. But we got a couple of questions we're going to go through. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to time stamp the questions down below in the description box. So if any point in time you're coming back and watching this video again, but you don't want to go through all the questions, you can kind of skip to the question maybe that interests you the most. But this time we got a lot of different questions. We got questions regarding how much money a man should make to be married. We got questions around How can you tell if a man is married and trying to date you even though he's married? We got questions around how long should you date a guy before he wants to marry you? We have questions around, is it okay to live with a guy before marriage? We got questions around where's a good place to meet men besides at the club or online? And we got another question regarding hairstyles. What are, wigs, weaves, braids around hair. So we'll talk about that as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. And we are going to start off with the first question. And I think this came from a Ready to Love viewer. And feel free to tell us where you're from. Feel free to tell us if you're a Married at First Sight fan, if you're a Ready to Love fan, because I have a lot of different viewers. Some people watch Married at First Sight, some watch Ready to Love, and some watch both. So like I said, this a whole family reunion. This is like the cousins and brother from another mother. But anyway, so the first question is, how much should a man make to be able to afford a wife? So that's kind of, for me, that's kind of like a really big, broad question. One, first of all, because I think it's so much more expensive to live in different places in the United States, depending on where you live. I think that the amount of money could be different. And I don't want to just talk about it like the normal. I think a lot of people talk about this and people walk around saying, I want a man with 6 figures. I want a man with 6 figures. I never date a man who makes less than 6 figures. I know there has been a lot of talk around that in the, YouTube streets and social media and stuff like that. So I don't really want to get into that too much because I think it's been talked about a lot. But one conversation I think that has been missing from the whole conversation when you are evaluating salaries of potential mates, because everyone's going to do it because finances are a big part of marriage. So you definitely need to consider it. But I think one of the things that's missing from the conversation is the idea of gross versus net. Oftentimes I hear people, especially, women, because most of the time that's where it's coming from. A lot of women talking about men's salaries. I don't really hear too many men saying, I want a woman who makes 6 figures. Most of the time I hear women saying it. And it may just be the videos I watch that I don't hear. I'm not saying men don't say it. I'm just saying most of the time when I hear it, I'm hearing it coming from men, from women about men. But I will say this. I think that the conversation that's missing is the idea of gross versus net. I think without having a conversation about talking about a person's gross salary versus a net salary, then to me, you're really not saying nothing. Because when I look at it, what I look at when I'm trying to determine a person's financial well-being, because that's what we're talking about, the healthiness of your financial status. I kind of look at it just like a bank would look at it. No bank, when you're getting ready to buy a house or you're getting ready to buy a car and someone's evaluating your financial health or your financial well-being, nobody looking at your gross salary. No one. So if you're going to get in this area and you're going to start evaluating men on their financial well-being, then you might want to do it like the professionals do it. And what they look at is a debt to income ratio, a gross versus net, because it is a big difference, because you have a lot of people who may earn 6 figures, who may earn $100,000, let's say, but those people have a lot of debt. And I'm not talking about good debt. I'm not talking about good debt like a house payment. That's good debt. I'm talking about bad debt. They have a lot of credit card loans. Some people, you're finding out, have way more student loan debt than some people even imagine. I know a lot of folks is waiting around for Biden to eliminate student loan debt. And people have different amounts of student loans. Some people only have $5,000, $10,000, but I've heard some stories of people having upwards of $300,000 in student loan debt. So I think when you're talking about and you're valuing a person, you absolutely have to look at gross versus net, because you could have a man making $100,000 versus a man making $60,000. But if the $100,000 man has 2 kids, maybe even an ex-wife, student loan debt, a car payment, his net income can be the same as if a man made $60,000, but his car is fully paid for and he doesn't have any kids. So You know, when you're walking around saying, I want a six-figure man, I want a six-figure man, and you're jumping over the man that only make $60,000, sure, you might be getting a six-figure man in gross, but in terms of his disposable income, money that he can bring into your household, sometimes it's less than the man who makes $60,000. Because think about it. I mean, I'm in California, and most people out here, if you got a kid and you got to pay child support for a child, a lot of people are paying $900 for a child. I mean, I don't know how it is in other states, but they're paying $900 for one child. Sometimes two children, they're paying $1,800. So that off the top, you know, $2,000 off the top, you're talking about $25,000 a year coming off of the salary of $100,000 man. So right off the bat, he's dropped down from $100,000 to $75,000. And then if he has a car note and he's paying another $500 or $600 a month, that's even more money. So I think that if you're going to get into this game of determining how much money a man needs to make in order for you to date him or you to be with him, for you to be overlooking gross versus net, you're not even really doing a good job at analyzing it. You have to look at, is this person responsible? Are they living within their means no matter what their salary is? Because I would rather a person make less money and live within their means and be financially responsible than a person who makes more money but is irresponsible. Like all their money is going out and clubbing and drinking and buying clothes and buying materialistic things. I would much rather a person make less money, but then they are more responsible with their money. And then also, you know, we talk about these things out here where people are, what do they say, rich house, but money poor. So you have some people who they don't have a lot of income left over because but they own a house and a lot of their money is going towards their mortgage and investing in a house. And then you have some people who have a more disposable income, but they may be renting an apartment. And you have to evaluate the two. You have to look at it and say, would you rather a person's cash flow be strapped because they're investing in a home, something that's going to be building equity over time? Or would you rather a person who maybe is renting an apartment and they have much more money to spend and take you out and take you to the steak dinners? You know, which one's going to bode well for you later on in life when you get married, maybe you have kids or things like that. So I don't want to get into like six-figure, non-six-figure, but I would say that you need to look at people's disposable income. That's really, really important. I think that's more a measurement of a person's financial health than how much money they make, to be honest with you. And then also, I do think that you need to consider, you know, earning potential and, you know, depending on what your age is. Depends on the age you're dating too. I mean, when you're in your 20s and you're dating, I think earning potential is something that you can factor into the equation because people are beginning their careers in their 20s and 30s. If you're dating and you're older and you're in your 50s or older, most people have already peaked out on their earning potential. So it is what it is. Most people are not going to be earning significantly more money once they start entering to their 50s. They're either going to plateau off and kind of maintain that, or they're going to go down. And some people, you know, once you start getting in your 60s, people are starting to look towards retirement. So a lot of people, they start going to reverse income generation, whereby it's not about generating more income. It's about preserving the wealth that you already have. And so you're going to look at different things out there in terms of, you know, does this man have a house? You know, he has a house, you get a house, you got health benefits. He may not have no big pension. He may only be getting $3,000 a month, but he got a fully paid for a house and paid health care. Shoot, that's a good deal for you women out here who's 60 something and you want to date. If you got a man with a house paid off and lifetime health benefits, girl, you better go ahead and marry that man. Because let me tell you, housing costs and healthcare are two of the most expensive things to pay for out here. So I do think it depends on what age bracket you're in. You're in terms of dating, and I think in any age bracket, no matter what, you need to look at net versus gross, because a lot of people also, even if their kids aren't young and they don't have child support, they got college they're paying for kids. And nowadays, some of these kids are needing financial support well into their 20s because it's hard out here for younger people now. So you have people in their 50s still financially supporting their children. So I wouldn't get stuck on gross income because to me, it really sounds silly when someone throws out a gross income number. I don't even pay attention to it. But look at the net. Pay attention to the net, a gross versus net. Not only other people's gross versus net, look at your own gross versus net. A lot of people are walking around talking about, I make 6 figures, I make 6 figures. I need a person who makes 6 figures along with me. But how much of your 6 figures gross is coming off the top to pay for things? And what is your real net income? And then maybe when you compare yourself to other people out here, you'll compare yourself differently. Sometimes people think that they're better off than other people. Like, oh, I make 6 figures, but he only makes 75,000. And sometimes you're thinking you make more than him and you really don't. I mean, I really don't think that that's all that you should think about. And the other thing that I'll say about this whole salary thing is that I never was a person where I wanted to tie a specific number to a man I'd be interested in because I didn't want that to limit me. Like a lot of women will say, I want a man who makes more money than me. They may not even say a number. They'll say, I want a man that makes more money than me. And I always say, well, that's really weird. I said, so you don't think that you will make more money in your lifetime, especially if you're a young woman, maybe they're just getting their career started. They're in your late 20s or early 30s or mid 30s. I mean, you're starting to hit your stride around that time. And I always say, well, what if you met a man and in this moment, he made more than you? Let's say he made $10,000 or more than you. And you say, okay, that's good because he makes more than me and it's not going to be no problem in our household. Well, what happens when you get a big raise or your career takes off and, your raises are topping his raises or your bonuses are topping his bonuses? Does that mean you're now going to divorce that man? Does that mean, or you're going to go tell that man, hey, now that I make an extra $20,000 a year, you're going to have to go out and get another career or another job because I always want you to make more than me? Odds are you're not going to do that. So if that's not really something that you're going to be doing throughout your life, then I'm not for sure why you should necessarily have that rule in the beginning, because I wouldn't want my income potential to be wrapped around another man's money. I really wouldn't want to put no constraints on my income and say, I always want a man to make more than me. Because although you're saying you really are putting constraints on your own income, because also what you're saying to yourself is, in order for me to feel comfortable in a relationship, I always have to make less than my man. So in that way, it stifles you. So are you going to be looking to make more money because you never want to out earn your husband? And this isn't just an issue going on in the Black community. A lot of people keep thinking this is with the Black community. It's not. If you read any statistics out here, white women are now, I think they said they're up to 50% of white women are now the not primary breadwinner, but the higher income earning in households. I think in Black families, maybe I don't know if it's the same or whatever, but people think, that this is different in Black households. And women are talking about, I don't want a man who makes less than me. And actually women all around, period, are having to adjust their views on this, because you got to think back to why women even made less than men in the first place. And one of the reasons why a lot of women made less than men back in the day when men made more money was because women were kept out of high paying jobs. So it's almost like the market was artificially tilted towards men. The high paying jobs were reserved for men who had families to support. And the women, even though women might have been working, women were stuck in lower paying jobs or lower paying fields. Well, once, things started changing and women started having access to education, access to other jobs, then where do you think those jobs came from? A lot of those jobs came from originally they were being preserved for men. So a lot of these new jobs that have come up that women are taking, if we were back in the 50s or 60s, we wouldn't even be able to have those high paying jobs. That's kind of the reason why men were able to make more than women. It wasn't because men were smarter than us. It was because the job market kept those jobs for men. So now you have it where men and women are competing alongside each other for careers and jobs. And so if you're coming out of college, or any type of thing, and you're a nurse and he's a nurse, or you're a teacher and he's a teacher, odds are you're going to be making around the same amount of money because you have just as much access to those higher paying jobs as he does. So, we always talk about how we don't want old days, old paradigms. But I think it is an old paradigm to still think that the men are always going to make more than the women. And I think that if you're limiting yourself to that narrow thinking, I think you're going to miss out on a lot of potentially good relationships. And you're also going to miss out on maybe even a more fulfilling life for yourself, because then mentally you're sort of constraining your own dreams, your own goals. And then you start to think, well, the more I make, the less men I'll have access to. Who wants to do that? Who wants to go through life saying, I can't chase my dreams financially because the more I make, the less men I can date? And I think that's just self-imposed on women. And the other thing is, nowadays there's so many tools and techniques to protect your wealth as a woman. If you feel like you're outsizing a man, we're watching on Married at First Sight. We're watching a woman, Stasha. Supposedly she makes like $450 and the man makes maybe $150. That's what we're told. So quite a bit different. And she's doing things like a post-nup, prenup, post-nups. All these sorts of things are available. These weren't things that were available before. And we know that there's a lot of risk in marriage. The divorce rate is 50%. So I think in that regards, both men and women, if you've built up a sizable amount of money or assets prior to marriage, it makes sense to protect your assets. But I don't think you should let your assets, your salary, your pocketbook keep you away from being with someone that you love and that you want to spend your life with. So anyway, that's what I have to say about money. So what do you all think down in the comments? Make sure, hopefully you've been chatting alongside with me. What do you think? Does the woman always have to make more than the man? If not, what are some things she could do? How do you look at that? All those sorts of things. So hopefully you've been chiming along, but if you haven't, go ahead and drop a few comments now in the chat and chime in with me so that any of the nieces and nephews that are watching this, they'll get an idea of not just what I think, but what a lot of other people think out there. So that was question number one. So question number two, we're going to talk about how do you know if he is married? I think this is coming from a Ready to Love viewer, because I did a lot of videos on side chicken and stuff this season, because there was a lot going on that I was like, what? I don't know. I was thinking the girl on the show, her name was Kayla, that she was falling to the side chick trap. And there were some things going on that I thought were clear signs that she was maybe the second in line. I don't want to call her a side chick, but I'm going to say she was second in line. So I'll answer this question about what I think are some clear signs that the guy is probably married. And everybody else, put your signs in the chat and down in the comments in the chat or wherever else. What do you think are some of the signs that a man is clearly married when he's out here talking to another woman, dating another woman, but he's married? I would say the number one is if you've never been in his house. If you've never, ever been to the man's house, I think that's a pause for investigation. In fact, I don't know if you guys watch Love and Marriage DC, not Huntsville, Love and Marriage DC. There was a young lady on the show. I forgot her name already. I forgot her name. It was Ashley versus, gosh, I forget her name. But she married a whole man and had never been to his house. I was like, what? And then she ended up finding out that he was living with his parents. But she thought that it was his house and his parents were living with him. That's an old scam. Men have done that in the past, talking about, my parents live with me. And then you later find out that really he's living with the parents. And I was like, if he ain't got the master bedroom, he living with his parents. His parents ain't living with him. If he is not paying the mortgage, then he is living with his parents, not him living with his parents. If all he's paying is gas and electricity, or so-called giving the parents $300, $400 a month, $600 a month, then he's living with his parents. And that is, you need to figure out what else is he lying about. But a clear sign that he is married or has a girlfriend, a living girlfriend, something, is if you've never been to his home. And I really wouldn't go too long of dating a person without visiting their house. And I often find a lot of times women will invite men to their home before they've even been to the man's home. I think because women are scared, like I'm comfortable in my home, so I'd rather him come on my home turf than me go to his house and then I'm on his home turf. You feel more comfortable in your own home. Well, you might feel more comfortable, but you get less information. And when you're dating, the goal should be to get out of your comfort zone in order to gather information. And let me tell you, when you go to a person's house, you get a lot of intel. A lot of intel. You can tell the way they keep their house, the way the house is decorated, lots of different things. So you might be sacrificing intel for feeling comfortable. So he can come over your house and lay up in your house and go in your refrigerator and eat your food, but you've never been over his house. So not only I go to his house, I sleep over his house. Okay. I would say if you're never allowed to spend the night at his house, you have to get up and go. Then you need to look further. You need to look deeper. When he can only talk to you in the car or at work, and he can't talk to you during an hour when he's at home, then you need to be concerned about that as well. I'm not saying these are all, 100% foolproof, but these are the things that if I were dating, and when I was dating, it was one of the things I looked for. If you've never met any of his friends, none of his friends, if you never meet any of his friends, lots of times that's a person keeping secrets, because our friends, sometimes they don't want to be the person lying to people for other people. Friends let things slip. So sometimes cheaters, double timers, they want to keep you away from their friends because they don't want you getting any intel. Like I said, intel. And you get a lot of intel when you meet friends and family. Lots of times it's the opposite. Women are introducing men to their friends and family, but they haven't met any of his friends or family. Women need to flip that. You need to flip that. You need to be meeting his friends and his family as well, before necessarily all the time before he meets your friends and family, because that's intel. Like I said, going on his house, meeting friends, that's all intel. If all you get are lunch dates or early dinner dates, happy hours, then there's a good chance, and after happy hour, he's going home to a wife, or dinner hours, he's not able to take you to dinner, because any wife would be suspicious about a man going to dinner on a Saturday night by himself. That would be a red flag, and most of them can't do it. So most of the time, if they're going to take you out, they're going to take you out for lunch, or they're going to take you out for early dinner. And he may have different work shift schedules, so he might can do something a little different depending on how he works. He works days, so he can, but these are just general things. I would look for him, though. I would look for him. What else? He only want to hook up with you when he going out of town, flying you into places, talking about I'm in Arizona for business trip. Hey, I'm gonna get you a ticket. Why don't you come out to Arizona with me? Only time we can hook up is when he's out of town. That's also a clear indication. Help me out, y'all, in the comments and chat. What is some other indication he's married? He turns the phone off when he's with you. I say that. He turns the phone off. He may say, I want to just concentrate on you, this and that, or, whatever else. Or he won't answer the phone, or he turns the phone off completely. I understand that you don't want to be a phone buzzing or whatever else. So, you gotta look at that. But if someone's constantly always just turning the phone off with you, or leaving their phone in the car, when they come in your house, where's your phone at? Oh, I just left it in the car. I wanted to be concentrated on you. Okay. All right. Sure. To me, these are all signs he might be married. So you definitely need to do some investigation to make sure he ain't playing you. He doesn't have another woman on the side. Like I said, it ain't foolproof, but everybody down in the comments, add some extra stuff up in there of some uncles, aunties, of some things we could tell this young lady who asked, how do we know if a man is married and if he is trying to have you as his side chicken, but you don't know it? So that would be my answer to that question. So let's go into question number 3. How long should you date a guy before marriage? Okay, so for this one, I think it depends on your age. I think if the man is under, I want to say 30 or 35. I'm going to say either 30 or 35, so maybe I'll go in the middle, 33. If the man is under 33 years old, I'm going to give that man 2 years. I'll give him 2 years. Because before I would expect him either to make a serious commitment in terms of proposal. I don't mean just a boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm like 2 years. After 2 years, and if you want to get married, I don't think that you need to date a person longer than 2 years without a ring or a serious discussion about getting engaged. Because women, we don't really have a lot of time to be wasting, especially if women are in their 30s. I really wouldn't waste a lot of time on a guy who is unsure. So I would say 2 years. If a guy is older than 35, and I'm talking about he's up in his 35 and older, 40s, 50s, 1 year. Absolutely. Men at this age, they know already. They've had enough dating. They don't need more than a year to know if they want to date you. And if they still haven't proposed after a year and you're dating a man in his 40s, it's because he's unsure about you. He's very unsure about you. And you need to have a conversation about, a conversation about why is he unsure of me? And it's kind of like what's going on Ready Love with Kadeem and Swayze. And that you really don't want to stay in that confusion mode for long about why a man doesn't want to marry you. And I think you need to have some tough skin, because if you have tough skin and you're willing to let him tell you the truth, it's actually something you might can get through. But a lot of women, they are so afraid of hearing the truth. They're so afraid of rejection that they don't want to really listen to what the concerns are of the man. And so they actually don't know how to get past the hurdles, because the men don't even really tell them what the real hurdles are. The men just keep lying to them and tell them, oh, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do that. They keep making up excuses. And then a lot of these women, they break up. And the next thing you know, that man meets another woman and he's engaged and married within 2 years. And they're like, well, wait a minute. I thought it was because of this. And they realize, no, it isn't that. If you're married, in the chat or whatever, how long did it take before your husband proposed? How long did you date before you proposed? Put it down in there. Let me know. Because I'm of the belief it doesn't really take men that long to figure out whether or not they want to marry or not. They may be stalling. And so I really wouldn't, me personally, if I'm really on a track to get married and I want to get married, I want to have kids or whatever you're doing, I really wouldn't give a person more than 2 years without, an engagement ring, something. I'm not even saying it got to be some big fancy engagement, but we need to be at the level of we're going to be getting married. And then, maybe we can be engaged for a year, and get engaged. So that means I was with you 3 years before we got married. I think that's more than reasonable. It is more than reasonable. So that's my answer. What do y'all think? What do you guys think? How long would you date a guy, or how long have you dated a guy? And I know some people have dated 5, 6 years and then they got married after dating 6 years. And sometimes those are people who had kids. So sometimes they had kids in year 2 and they didn't tie the knot. And then 6 years later, they end up getting married. I know of stories like that. So it's not that some people don't get married after dating 6, 7 years. So I think people hear those stories, but you'll be surprised the other flip side of the story of how people only dated 4 months, 5 months and got married within a short period of time. And I know a lot of people talk about, well, you can't really get to know a person in a year. Yes, you can. If you are dating with intention, and if you are dating seriously, then you should make every encounter, every date count. Dating shouldn't just be about, going, having a chicken dinner. Dating should be specifically to find out about that person, making sure you are learning the pertinent things. And if you did that, dating a year is more than enough. Think like a married at first sight. These people are dating only for 2 months. It's intense. But they're doing all the steps, meeting the parents, meeting the friends, doing this, doing that. They're cramming it into 8 weeks. And so they get to a point in 8 weeks when they can decide. Now, 8 weeks is probably a short period of time, but you don't need 2 years. You don't need 2 years. You could work on those things and get through that process they're doing in Married at First Sight. You could get through that a year. So I wouldn't buy that I need 2 years, 3 years to determine whether or not I want a married person. In fact, I think it works against women. I think when women date men for too long, I think it starts to work against you, because when you date a person, we start discovering things about those people that we don't like. It's everybody. You learn about him, what you don't like. He learns about you. And so what happens is the more you learn about what you don't like, those become more reasons not to marry the person. But in fact, those things shouldn't be things you don't marry a person, or those just become things you would work on in the marriage. Because then what happens is you start looking for the perfect person. Well, I can't marry them because I just found out this. Well, the difference between married people and single people doing that is married people are discovering the same things about their mate, but they're working it out in marriage. Marriage is supposed to be a journey. We are all growing. We are all getting better. We are all evolving. So you're not going to marry a person for a moment in time, because even once you think you know a person completely, and say you waited 4 years, oh, now I know him really, really well. I guarantee you, by the time you marry him, you will discover 10 other things you didn't know about him. So you might as well have gotten married 5 years ago, because you're still discovering things. So for me, I'm going to say maximum 2 years if you are younger than 35. If he is, because I think it depends on the man too. I think men who are 35 and younger, men who are 30 and younger, they need more time. And I think the ideal age for a man to marry actually is 30. I know some men get married before 30, but in my past, having been blown past 30, I think a lot of men find their footing past 30. I think below 30, I think they still have a lot of growth, maturing to do, determining what they want. So I think it's a little bit more. A lot of people get married before 30. They make it. They're married for 50 years, 60 years. But I think 30 for men is a good age for them to get married. I think women can get married a little younger than that. I think women sometimes mature a little bit sooner. So, but that's my answer. What do y'all think? You know, like I said, my answers ain't made in stone. They ain't made of gold. Like I said, this is just Auntie's, my own opinion, but everybody else has opinion as well. So for sure in the chat, give me your opinion on how long should you date a man before you marry him, or you expect a proposal and a ring. Okay, next one. Is it okay to live with a guy before marriage? I think it's okay to live with a guy before marriage. I think it's up to you. I think that's personal, but I would say I wouldn't do it without a timetable. There's got to be a purpose to it. I wouldn't move in with a guy without a timetable, which is, hey, we want to live together because we want to see how we get along, sharing the space. Okay, got it. Then there should be a timetable. You should say, I'm not going to live together no longer than 6 months or no longer than a year. And if we are not at the point of an engagement, then I will move out. Like I said, it's no need to feel you have to go into a situation and live with a person for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Because I think a lot of women start to feel taken advantage of when it starts getting down the line. So I would say, I don't think there's anything wrong with living together. I know some people say never live with a guy before you're married. I never really lived with a guy before I married, but my husband and I, when we got engaged rather quickly, and we lived together maybe 4 months before we actually physically got married. So we were engaged, and then we got moved together, and we lived about 4 months together before we actually got married. So technically I lived with him before we were married, but prior to that, I never had lived with like just a boyfriend. But that's, individual a preference. But I would definitely say, if you were the person who wants to get married, I would not live together with an open date. I would put a timetable on it, and I would have an agreement with that guy before I did it. Okay, so let's move on. What is the next one? Where can I meet men besides online and at the club? I don't know who this came from. But I would say this. Actually, I'm a big fan of online dating. I like online dating. I don't know why people don't like online dating. I think online dating is a very good option if you do it right. I think a lot of people just don't online date well. I think, because one of the things I think for meeting a person, the good places to meet people are places where you can linger and where a person can approach you. And online dating is just that, virtually. It's a place where you can linger, because lingering is actually your profile, right? It's just sitting out there. And you're approachable because men, if they're interested in you, they can approach you via online. So I actually think online is a good place. Now, what I would change with some people do online dating is I think they linger too long and stay too long on dating websites. So if I were dating in today's dating market, I would move around to the different dating websites. I wouldn't have my profile up on all the dating websites at once. So I wouldn't be up on 5 different websites at once, because I don't know. People be like, oh my goodness, she's on every website. I wouldn't do that. But I would put my profile up on a website, and I would only stay on that, whatever that website or app is, for no more than 2 months. Okay. Because to me, online dating should mimic, say, like back in my day when we kind of more met people outside. So online dating should mimic, the old dating world. So when I look at someone who's on the same profile and their profile has been up 6 months, 7 months, to me, that's like you going to the same club every weekend. And anytime you go there, you see that same old woman at that club, like she here every weekend, she here every weekend. No, you want to create a sense of, catch me while I'm here. You know what I'm saying? You want to be like a hot ticket. You want to come in on the market blazing. You want the new profile to be popping up in the search engine so people will see your profile. And if my profile got stale, I would take it down. I would only put my profile up for no more than 2 months on an app. And then after that, if I didn't find any success, I will move to a different app, put up a whole new profile, and then I will move around to the different apps. That's how I would do online dating, but I wouldn't be having them up all the dating sites and all that. I know people meet people on IG now. And if you are meeting people on IG, you need to look at your IG as that is your resume. And so be very careful what you put up there, what kind of pictures you put. Be careful what type of imaging or messaging you're trying to send when you're a single person and you're trying to find, a husband. Now, if you're just trying to date and catch men, okay, that's a whole nother thing. You could do all the booty shots you want. But if you're really trying to use your IG as a way where people can come and check you out and see if they want to, DM you or something, really look at your IG and make sure it's something that you want to present. So the other thing I would say about, I guess I haven't even answered besides online at the club. I would say, the other thing about online dating, I know nowadays, do you contact the man? Do you not contact the man? I think in my profile, I probably would do prompts where men can contact me. Because here's the thing. I know things have changed and women approach men all the time now. And, it's in vogue. It's whatever. But I'm going to tell you this about approaching men. One thing that hasn't changed about men, even though, is that men will take the easy candy. And a lot of times what happens is a woman can approach a man online, even in person on the street, and he will say yes to you. But the only reason he's saying yes is because you offered. It's almost like saying, hey, do you want this piece of candy? Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Is it the kind of candy he would eat or buy at the store if he normally were shopping? No. But because it was offered to him, a lot of men look at that as, oh, yeah, I'll accept it. And so sometimes it's hard to know if the men are interested in you because you offered, or if they're interested in you because they really are attracted to you and they're happy that you approached them because they were too shy or whatever to approach you. See, that's what's tricky about it. You don't really know when you approach men, because a lot of men say yes to women and they'll say yes to her, to go out with her, to sleep with her. But she's not anyone that I would date. She's not anyone that I would even consider marrying. And so what happens is you start getting like, you feel good because, oh yeah, he responded to me. He likes me. He's flirting with me. But sometimes it's just because you offered it up. So I think you got to be really careful about approaching men too hard online dating or whatever else. Because when you do, sometimes if your approach is too much, he might still say yes to you, but he's not really saying yes because he's interested in you long term. He's saying yes because he's willing to try it out. And you don't want to be the girl he's just trying out or trying on, because that's horrible. So I would say other places to meet besides online. I would say if you're young, I would definitely say school is a good place to meet. If you're in your 20s or even in your 30s in your school, I think school, universities, school events, I think those are excellent places to meet people, because once I said the two things that you need to really make it a nice, inviting place to meet people is lingering, that you're going to be lingering and you're going to be available for a person to approach you. Because lingering means you're in an area, and that gives a guy, if a guy sees you and he wants to walk over to you, he has time to sort of build courage. He has time to walk over. A lot of people think men are so self-assured and they got so much courage. I'm telling you, It takes a lot of courage for men to approach women, a lot of courage. That's why when I used to date, I made sure I acknowledged that, when men approach me, even if I weren't interested in them, I made sure I didn't crush them because I gave respect to the fact that it takes a lot for a man to approach a woman, especially if he's a sincere man. They think about it. So they need you to be in an area for more than 2 seconds because sometimes they may see you and in 2 seconds, they don't have enough courage to walk over to you. So lingering and approachable, I think, are two things. I would say Home Depot. Oh my goodness. Listen, let me tell y'all, before I was married, I used to do, I'm in real estate, as you guys know. So it was a lot of trips to Home Depot because I would fix up homes and things like that. And let me tell you, Home Depot is a meat market. If you go at the right time, and you go dressed pretty decently, let me tell you, it is a meat market. You go at Home Depot. Don't go during the weekend because on the weekend, it ain't nothing but husbands in Home Depot. Husbands doing the honey-do list. They at Home Depot because their wife told them, hey, honey, I need you to do this in the backyard and the landscape. It's going to be all husbands. But if you go to Home Depot in the morning before work, let's say you need some light bulbs for your house. Let's say your lamp light bulb went out. You need to go to Home Depot and get some light bulbs. Let me say, go in the morning at 6:30, at 7 o'clock in the morning. All the contractors are in there. All the men who own businesses, maybe contracting businesses, or the men who are, work in the field, they in Home Depot because they going in the Home Depot early at 6:30, 7 in the morning to get supplies for today's work. The other time they in Home Depot is in the evening because they going to shop for supplies for the next day. I'm telling you, you'll be surprised. Home Depot is a meat market, but is mainly during the day, mainly in the mornings and the evening. The daytime, I don't know. Probably not because they already at their job sites and they working. And the weekend, like I said, weekend is full of the weekend wars. It's full of the people who own homes and the husbands. So you may not have as much luck then. But go in the morning, go in the afternoon. I'm telling you, it's a big time. Another place. Go to married people's parties. Listen, I don't know why single people have not figured this out. Married people, we all know a lot of divorced people because like I told you, divorce is 50% out here in the married world. So married people always have a friend who is divorced. Okay. Maybe we were friends when we were all married, but now he's divorced. And guess what? Those people still come to our parties. So it's a good chance that if you come to married people's parties, there's going to be some divorced people there. We think we're only going to go to singles people party. No, you need to go to married people's parties because in that married people's parties, you got less competition because married people's parties, maybe 80% of the people are married, but there's 20% that's unmarried and you got all them men all to yourself if you're the single woman there. So you need to start going to some married people's parties because let me tell you, married people have divorced friends. And that's how a lot of my friends, I've hooked up friends, match make friends. Two of my divorced friends, my divorced female friend, my divorced male friend, like, oh, y'all would make a good couple. Y'all ought to go out together. And a couple of my little matches, they've gotten married or they're engaged or they're in long-term relationships, something. But don't discount married people's parties. Hand car washes. That's another good one. Y'all chime in with me. Give me some ideas. Give these people some ideas. Hand car washes. Let me tell you, one of them hand car washes in your neighborhood where you go and you end up being there like 45 minutes. I'm telling you, lingering, sitting around. Men always be going to get their cars washed. That's one place they do go. And let me tell you, that's a good spot. Because I remember back when I was young and I would go get my car washed, the hand car wash. You there at least 45 minutes. And a single man come along, he getting his car washed too. It's an easy place to strike up a conversation. Let me tell you, that's a good little spot. What else? Where's another place? What's another place? Let me see. I think I had written down a couple of notes. Let me see what else I was thinking about. School sports for kids, games where, kids are at school sports. I came up with that one. A dog parks. Oh, that's another good one. A dog park. People think walking your dog, but walking your dog, you're moving, right? You're not lingering, you're moving. So what's a guy going to do? Chase you down the street? Dog parks, because your dog is running around, but you're sitting on the park bench. And a lot of men have dogs. They take their dogs to the dog park. You take your dog to the dog park. Your dog is running around. It's like your kids. You sit on the dog park bench. He sit on the dog park bench. You strike up a conversation. A lot of people take their dogs to the same dog park over and over again. So you actually start making friends with the people at the dog park. That's another good place. I would say work, but nowadays with this Me Too generation, I think men are scared to approach women at work. But so I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a good place anymore. You guys let me know if that's a good place anymore, because I don't know, the Me Too generation, especially men, they're afraid to flirt with women at work. Nowadays, people getting sued and fired over sexual harassment. That can be kind of tricky. But if you're like in a business complex, then I can see like you're not the same company, but his company's next door, but you guys always see each other at lunch. I think that's a good environment. And then I want to say the airport. The airport is a good place. You're lingering, you're waiting for your flight. A lot of people show up to the airport in like raggedy clothes, hair bonnets, hair looking crazy with a pillow and all this other kind of stuff. I go to the airport looking your finest, looking good, and get there a few minutes early. Don't be rushing to the gate 5 minutes before the plane. Try to get there sometimes an hour early. Have a seat near the gate or somewhere in an open area. And look cute. Men approach you. And another place I would say is on the plane. I know we like the aisle seat or we like the window seat. But let me tell you, if you're looking for a man, you might want to choose that middle seat sometime, because who knows, you might end up with a cute man on either a side of you. Because my husband and I, we have been flying and going to places lots of times. And we'll sit next to each other, and then it'll be a third row, a seat with 3 seats. And we'll meet single people, single men. And my husband starts chatting him up. He's a single man. And, we'll start talking about marriage. And the man will be talking about he wish he could find a wife and all this kind of stuff. I'm telling you, the airport and all airplanes, lingering, like I said, a long flight, you might get lucky. But that's it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Or drop down in the comments or in the chat. What are some other go-to places where it's a good place to meet a person? But like I said, the best places I think are when they have 2 things. You're lingering and people can approach you. Not lingering alone, because a lot of people think, oh, lingering. No, lingering. You may be in a movie theater and you're lingering. That's not a good place because no one can approach you. You got to be lingering and people can approach you. Sports bars, that's another one. A lot of men at sports bars. Go watch a game. Go watch a football game, a basketball game, baseball game. Lots of men. Go to a sports bar. Go where there are billiards, pool table, pool hall, something like that. That's another good place. Okay, so let's move on. This is the last question would be, should I stop wearing wigs to meet a man? Oh, this is such a touchy subject when it comes to hairstyles, and every man is different. There are a lot of men who don't mind wigs, but there are a lot of men who don't like them. There are a lot of men who don't mind weaves, but there are a lot of men who don't mind weaves. Some people like weaves. There are a lot of men who like natural hair, but there are a lot of men who don't like natural hair. Everything's not the same. Every man's not the same. Everybody's desires are not the same. So the one thing I say about dating is you want to be the one who's able to get offers and then be able to reject or accept offers. So when you're dating, I think that you should concentrate on getting as many offers as you can. And so that respect, I think that you should put forth your most winning look. It could be, and I don't know what your most winning look is, but I do think what you should do is try out different looks to see what your winning look is. Let me tell you, y'all know from my videos, I be wearing vastly different hairstyles, and most Black women, we change our hair a lot. We can go from a wig to a weave to wearing our hair natural, a nappy and curly, or kinky and curly, whatever you want to call it. Then we could go from wearing our own hair but straightening it. And then we can wear braids, we can wear locks, we can wear different things. And let me tell you, I've worn my hair a lot of different ways, even when I was single. And I would attract different men depending on the hairstyle. I ain't gonna lie. Different men are attracted to different hairstyles. So just like I told you back in that online dating, how I would switch up my profile and I would do a different profile every couple of months. If I were out here dating and I was trying to figure out a winning look, I would switch up my hairstyle. I sure would. every a couple of months, I would switch up my hairstyle. I absolutely would, because I think that different hairstyles attract different men. And here's the thing. I think it attracts different men in the beginning, but once that man loves you, likes you, or whatever, I think he could care less. I think that's why a lot of times once women are married, men care less about their hairstyles, because now they have grown in love with that woman for different reasons. I think we talked about this on my last question and answer, the difference between attractive and attracted. I think in the beginning, attractive, the hairstyle plays a role, because men are just looking at you visually. Oh, I don't like a woman with a weave. I don't like a woman with a lace front. I don't like a woman who wears braids. I don't like a woman who wears locks. I don't like a woman with natural hair. They are going off of that. But once you've hooked them and they're like, oh, I love the dirty draws on this woman, he could care less about your hairstyle. Now, he may have his favorite hairstyle, but he's not going to be like, I don't want to date her no more because she got a weave in now, or she put extensions in. Nah, they don't do that. Husbands don't do that. Men don't do that. So when it comes to hairstyles, I do think you should try out different hairstyles to see what type of men you attract with different hairstyles, and to figure out some of your winning looks. And I think that you should switch it up to add variety. So even when you're going on them different dating websites, try some different hairstyles. Don't try all the different hairstyles on the same profile, though, because a man will say, oh, I liked her when her hair was straightened, but I don't like her now with her hair natural. He probably want to talk to you because he'd be like, oh, that's a no for me. Keep it consistent on the profile. So if you're going to do a natural hair, do your whole profile natural hair. And then if you're going to go to another profile, then that one, if you're going to wear a wig, do wigs, do weaves, do whatever you want to do. I don't know. But I do think you have to look at your hair as one of your marketing tools. It is. Hair is a marketing tool. So you need to wear the hairstyle that attracts the man that you like. And I think different men are attracted to different hairstyles. I do. I think different personalities of men are attracted to different hairstyles. And I don't think it matters whether or not your hair is long or short or whatever else. I think the different hairstyles just attract different men. So do I say get rid of your wig? I don't say 100% get rid of your wig, but I will say this. If you look at different hairstyles, one of the ones that's the least desirable of a lot of hairstyles, I think, are the wigs. I think of all the hairstyles, I think that is the one that turns more men off than not. Not all the men, but more men than not. And I think it's only in the beginning, because I think after you've been with the man, I think he could care less. I mean, if I throw a wig on today and go out with my husband, he could care less. He really, really could care less. And here's the other thing I found out. I found out that men don't care. Some men don't care about wigs, because I was talking to a friend actually a little while ago, and he said, I don't care if she wears a wig, but I will not date a woman. This is what he said. This ain't my words, y'all. He said he will not date a woman more than 3 months without seeing her real hair. That's what he told me. That's what y'all can be mad if you want to, but that's what he said. He says, after 3 months, I would need to see her real hair. And he even told me that he was dating a woman, and he said, can I see your real hair? And I was like, oh, you asked a woman that? Was she offended? And he said, she actually wasn't offended. He said the next time that we went out, she wore her real hair, and I thought she looked beautiful. So anyway, but I would switch it up. I would use hair like marketing. I would do different styles with different techniques, and I would take inventory and take notes on what's your winning look. And even if you have a winning look, I would switch it up. I think that's the key. I think you want to get your marketing plan where you're attracting as many different men as you can, so you have a lot to choose from, and then you can pick out the quality men, or say yes to the quality men that you like. But a lot of women are not even attracting men, and they need help in figuring out how to get more offers in. And sometimes it is something as simple as your hair. And I don't think women should get all knotted up over it. I don't think they should get their feelings hurt because a man says they don't like a wig or a weave or whatever else, because that's just talk in the beginning. I'm telling you, once a man loves you, he don't care about your hair. Married men, if you in the audience or boyfriends or whatever, go ahead, drop in the comments. I think that's just something in the beginning. I really don't think it's something long-term That's really a real big issue. But anyway, that's all my questions. That's everything I had. If you guys want to submit questions for next Monday, please look down in the description box. There are some links to some of the forms, and you can submit a question for next week. And then when I do my videos for Married at First Sight and Ready to Love, I typically include links in there, and you can submit a question then, and I'll try to get to them on the next We Got Mail. That's what I'm calling y'all. We Got Mail. So aunties and uncles, thanks for showing up. Thanks for, if you're in the chat, thank you for doing that. If you're not in the chat, thanks for putting down some of your responses to some of these questions in the comment section. And I will catch y'all later. Talk to you later.